I didn't know that.
I have Thingy, by the way, if you want it, and I have James Earl's logins in my PlayStation. If you ever want to jump on, log in as the Cowboys and just take notes and stuff.
And the defense is the first in the NFL for points allowed and fifth for yards. That's sexy.
Oh, there we go.
What did you tag me on Facebook again? Because it's not loading.
What did I tag in?
Yeah.
Oh, funny moments at halftime in Premier League games. It's unreal. Everything from Slaven Bilic calling Martin Atkinson a wanker to
Oh, that was class, to be fair.
Samuel Eto'o and Mamadou Sakho switching jerseys and Brendan Rodgers being none the wiser and being like, firstly, thanks for telling me. Secondly, glad I know now. And it's like, and Coutinho was switching his shirts as well, and Rodgers just goes, oh Jesus, and gets up and leaves the room.
Did you see when Samuel Eto'o scored a hat-trick against Hughes?
Yeah.
Who the ball boy was he celebrated with?
No.
Hudson-Odoi.
Who will also be playing elsewhere next year.
Yeah, he'll probably be playing with Samuel Eto'o.
Daniel, do me a favour, fired into the not meat chat, whatever the hell we're calling it now. Fired into there and see if anybody's the Hall of Neat. Fired in there and see if anybody's listening and make sure we're coming through okay, etc.
Yeah, okay.
Also, while we're at it, can somebody get me the final score of Houston-Oakland?
28-7.
I just had it down as 14-14 with a wee asterisk.
I've just been going live now in the group.
Another case of internet gate. This always happens in John's game. Now, obviously, it wasn't John because it was Nick's connection that shit the bed, but always happens to John's opponents.
It does always seem to be John's opponents.
I'm convinced he calls up BT and it's like, here, see those ones?
Only one of us knows who works at BT, and he's undefeated. The plot doth thicken.
Oh, I'm raging about that game. I'm happy with it, but I'm raging at the same time.
If only
okay.
I was about to say, if only we had a podcast where we could grill you and your feelings for it either way.
I'm coming through, so I think we're all good. Oh, Montgomery's drafted third overall, or third round. Sorry,
third round, yeah.
Third overall.
Mm-hmm. No, I thought I'd go for him because we always go for quarterbacks, and I know Mitch has already been the back of one of the podcasts, so I'm trying to keep it a wee bit diverse. And I think Montgomery's probably been your best player for the last couple of weeks.
Well,
one of.
Yeah, not in the last. Well, when did he get injured? Was it last week or the week before? That's what I'm stuttering on.
Yeah, he got injured the week before. He got injured in the Minnesota game.
So yeah, it was halfway through. Yeah, that's a fair bit then. So it is.
So I'll assume that Zach is listening and here. So we'll get started. Where are we? It's not bad actually. You need to get theme music. This is not the Herd. Daniel is No Joy Taylor, and we're joined by the current NFC North leaders and reigning champions of the NFC North, Chicago Bears head coach Niall McKillop.
Hello everyone, happy to be here.
So we've got loads to get through. It's been quite a good week. A couple of PvP games. So first of all, we're going to address the Bears PvP doubleheader. So we'll do a quick review of Bears at Giants, and then an even quicker preview of Bears v Saints. I don't think there's anybody better to start out of the three of us than yourself. So tell us a little bit about it, just for anybody that hasn't seen the game or didn't see the score. Giants won 31-29.
Yes, and I think it was probably my best PvP outing outside of that game I took Matt to overtime, and that includes things like beating Adam in the NFC title game, which no one talks about, and I feel like there was no gate, quote unquote, at the end of this game. You know, there was no dodgy plays, there was no dodgy connection or anything like that, or at least as far as I'm aware of. Although I will say, for Zach's call for people to come and get him, yes, he won the game, but I think he looked very mortal. Now, the
Mortal is a
simple
great way of putting it, by the way.
the simple thing is that I made more mistakes than he did, and he punished me for my mistakes, and he deserved the win 10,000%. He got it, he deserved it. It was a great fun game, but I can literally pinpoint one of two, not even need the two of them, one of two plays that cost me that game. There was the pick six, obviously,
Big
and
momentum swinger.
yep, and I'd been playing. Now, he did have a couple of long ball touchdowns. They were unfortunate. Could have went 50-50, just happened to swing the other way. But something I'd really been trying not to do was to stay out of press coverage. Now, he had come out in that play that I really did my homework on, Zach. I didn't do as much as James, because as I did on James Earls earlier in the season. And I think what I learned from that game was I can over prepare. So
Okay.
I watched Zach's one game against the Titans, and I felt like I learned most of his tendencies from there, both offense and defense. And I knew that I wasn't meant to go in press. And he went in the typical one running back, zero tight ends, four receivers, gun tray open that he can run a lot out of. And I was trying to think of a clever defense to come out and show him, and I was running out of time. I didn't want the CPU to choose, and I panic picked a cover three with a press option, which I didn't realize until it was too late, and unfortunately Booth got burned for a long touchdown. Either of those two things go different, I can see that coming away with a Bears victory. But it was a really fun game, loved the commentary on it, and I felt very proud of my team when I came out of it.
So you should be. Just on a personal note, I think it's your third best game of the year, and you've won nine of, or what are you, eight of them or nine of them? I think you've won 9 games, and I think that's
I'm
your
9-2.
Yep, that's your third best game of the year. That
Out
was
of
real.
curiosity, what do you think's the other two?
The most complete one is my favorite one's 31-10 against Buffalo in week 4. Was it week 4? Week 4, week 5, earlier in the year. That was really good.
Yeah, fair enough.
And probably the second best one was the week before against Minnesota, where you won off the Minneapolis Miracle play. It was such a fucking annoying way to finish the game and didn't deserve it at all. Like, the way for it to end that way. If you'd have just marched up the field and scored, it would have been like totally desered. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you didn't deserve to win, but the game was skewed because of that last drive. If you just scored normally, you totally deserved it, and you were always favourites to beat them.
Yeah, no, that's what, there is always that kind of feel. I was a bit annoyed when I came after the Minnesota game, to be honest, because I came on such a, well, no two ways about it, fluky play. I could have seen. I threw the ball. I expected Burton to come down with it. He's usually very sure-handed and can catch a ball even with someone on his back.
Yeah.
But he did that Madden thing that Hopkins used to do in the last Madden, and fortunately it was Rigor behind him and not a safety. Otherwise, that game could have went very different, and I'd be sitting here at 8-3.
So in terms of well, Daniel, you got anything to add about the Giants game?
I thought the Bears were really good. I thought it
If we
could
don't
have
talk
easily
about
been a Bears win.
Trubisky and Herbert, if we don't talk about that, I know we're going to get bad press after this, so we need to mention it a little bit. Although I don't think it's a point worth labouring too much over.
I think on another day the Bears win that game.
Well, on my opinion, I know I really shouldn't have one on this, or my opinion is clearly biased, but only one of them got on the weekly awards list, even with the loss. Just saying.
Who got on the weekly awards? Oh, with
Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh,
got
I'm so
the
glad you.
NFC Offensive Player of the Year.
I was going to mention
or
that.
Week, sorry.
Absolutely terrible decision. I was going to mention that, but
It should have been Kamara. It should have been Kamara.
it should have been anybody else, and I'll tell you for why in a minute. But Daniel, anything else about the game?
I think Mitch gets too much stick.
So do I.
I think Mitch has too much of his old coaches behind him in his rep, and I think, yeah, I will put my hands up, and I am not too proud to admit I bungled the Herbert situation. and I should have stuck with him. But my Mitchell worked for what I needed him to do, and he still has his limitations, of course he does. But I think I have really helped develop him. I've started to build a good offensive roster around him, and it's got a long way to go, and I admit that. But I think Mitchell has come a really long way. He still runs outside the pocket like he's moving in tar, but he's a lot better than I think people give him credit for.
Yeah,
He
I don't think he gets
absolutely
the
he
credit
played
deserves.
he played really well in the Giants game. He absolutely did not deserve to be near offensive player of the week. Absolute travesty. It's just because his completion percentage was so high, and that skews it, which is why it is. There's a lot of times it's a CPU quarterback because they go like 11 for 12 and one seriously costly pick.
But that's
Like,
how you beat a zone blitz. That's how you beat a zone blitz defense. That's what I mean. I watched like 4 games on James Earls and had a bit of a briefing with outside analysts. I watched 1 game on Zach on either the day of or the day before, and I pretty well figured out his defense. Like his defense got no. There was one play, the one significant play they got to him on, and that was at the one, which is generally my weakest territory.
yeah,
Uh, I do think the ball should have came off. It was a stick play, because of course it was. But the
I think I
left-hand
called it in
side,
commentary as well. I was like,
yeah,
tight ends, 2 of them to the right side. It's a stick. It's the only thing he runs here.
the the left-hand side of the O line just let him down a little bit there. But they'd been very good all day, so he only got. I think he suffered 2 sacks, I think, but only one of them was of note. It was an
Maybe
important
2.
one at that. But
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
feel
say,
like
I
I
only thought you.
the pass rush most of the day.
I only thought you were sacked once, so if it was 2, it was news to me. It could well have been 2, but it certainly wasn't a lot. But I'm going to throw my old pal Tom Brady under the bus here to prove that Mitch shouldn't have had it. So we talked in the group about how Tom Brady doesn't deserve the MVP of the Eagles game. Daniel made a case that he should, and Adam will always die on the cross saying that he definitely should. That Eagles game was decided in the last 5 seconds, and it was a Brady lost fumble. Don't get me wrong, he wins the MVP in the majority of other Super Bowls with that stat line. What was it, Daniel? 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. But the game literally swung on the lost fumble. I might be the only Patriots fan that I know that doesn't think that Brady should have got the MVP of that bowl. So I'm going to say that Mitch doesn't deserve the MVP of this game because it was a 2-point game that swung in a pick 6. I don't know how
Very
he can
true.
be the player of the week when for me, he wasn't even the best Bears player in the game. That's what just had me going like, what?
I'm curious to hear who you think was the best Bears player in the game.
Okay, there is a simple answer for it, but I'm going to go with a complex answer because it's me. I do Team of the Week, and next year I've decided I can't do it in the middle of a season, but I'm going to do a Coach of the Week as well because Niall would definitely get it this week. And it would have been Niall would have got it now for the first time. The first 10 weeks would have been Nick every week, because Niall, you did have one standout player in my mind, but after that there wasn't a second best player. You had a bunch of running backs off the street and no name receivers that can't get open, and your defense is limited in areas. You coached a phenomenal game. Like, I'm pretty sure you have. If you say you haven't, you're lying. Have you watched the game back?
I actually haven't. I did mean to go back and do it, but I just haven't
What
because
a
I know I'll
terrible,
get to
terrible liar.
I'll get to the fourth quarter and I'll be like, I win this game, don't I? Like, how do I lose this game?
No,
And
but
then,
that's the thing.
obviously,
It's not what I call it. The coaching never let you down at all. I thought you were really good,
Yeah.
even when you were making mistakes. Because John commented on it on the stream as well at the time.
I
Straight
thought
after
John's
the
commentary was very good.
straight after the pick 6, you marched up the field and scored 7, and John's like, "Boom! That's Niles O. Where's that been? There it is, on demand. Dial it up. Here we go." I thought your player of the game, I thought, was Trey Burton. He was unguardable in the red zone, but after him, there wasn't anybody one that stood out. Literally, doesn't matter who you put out at running back. They picked up yards in the flat. Adam and I, the highest praise. I think I said it in the chat with text rather than saying it in the group. The highest praise that I can give you for that game is that it reminded me of my first bowl win. Just get a tight end or on a big huge route and ignore him and just throw all these unders to the James White with 19 targets. And it's fine because if it's zonal blitz, it's really hard. There's no way to have an answer for it without changing. I'm really curious to see the next Giants game, even against CPU. Really am.
I always think this league, to both its benefit and detriment, has too long of a memory, and they see the bet when they think Bears offense, they think if I take away Burton, he's got nothing else. And I feel like that's what happens every time I go against in PvP. And in some, depending on the day, you could be right, but there are plenty of games that show that's not the case. Now, I do need to get my perimeter receivers more involved.
Hmm.
And that is something I own and something I'm trying to work on. But you've got Ridley in the slot, who is a phenomenal. If it's in his radius, there is a 90% chance he's coming down with it. I think he's got the most sure hands on my team. And then I've got a fantastic running back room, which there's maybe no standouts. I don't have a Kamara, I don't have a Barkley, but and I was trying something in that game, which because of the zone blitz didn't come up. It was very hard to run on,
Mm.
but I felt very happy about that. I felt I was a lot more composed. I was a lot. I'm really coming to grips with this Chargers playbook and all now. It is really starting to click. I'm playing my game rather than my player's game, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And it just felt really really good.
You did say that like week 3 or 4, whenever your offense was a bit meh, you were thinking of coming off the Chargers playbook, and I'm like, no, please
Yes.
stay with it for the year. And if it's bad in week 17, then we know it's bad. We both, you and I both said at the start of the season, there's a lot for you to be excited about in this playbook, and we're starting to see it. But
Yeah, there is some great plays that would be amazing in real life, but don't work in Madden. Like it has a tight end screen,
and
which I've ran.
fake jet sweeps.
Yeah, they just don't
The
work.
tight end screen does work. It can work.
Uh,
I would never advocate running the fake jet sweep. I just don't get
I would never
it.
pull the tight end screen unless I was up by like 24 and just playing about.
yeah,
It's a good way to
exactly.
run clock, to be fair.
It's shite, yeah. It's just
Uh,
not a fan.
right. So again, I want to keep this quite short because we'll come back to this at the end of the episode as well. A little bit of a preview of Saints at Bears. It's just as for me, it's just as big as the Giants game because the winner effectively has the 2 seed.
Hmm.
If you look through the last 4, Panthers, Falcons, Panthers, Bucks, Adam doesn't drop a game, and Niles, Packers, Lions, Patriots, Packers. Again, as long as you can beat Green Bay twice, I don't think you drop a game. So the winner of this gets the 2 seed because if Adam wins it, Niles like 2 games adrift. But if Niall wins it, they're tied. But Niall would obviously have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So it truly is a semi-final as such for the 2 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna do similar homework to what I did with Zach. Adam, if you take away that kill streak on Zach, he still has Barkley and everything, and of course he still put up 31 points, like, but 7 of them were off pick six and all. Like his offense
The
did come a
offense
lot more down to earth.
certainly wasn't humming. Yeah.
But Adam has a lot more than he can do. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Thomas is still out.
Again, I have no idea because of the way that Madden works it. Maybe he'll be able to be activated. I don't know. We'll keep an ear to the ground on that one.
I am going to do a very quick injury report for both teams. Why not? David Montgomery is still out. And for the Saints, we have a fit, healthy roster. So he's got Kamara and he's got Thomas.
That's good. I was a bit worried what you would do on defense if he didn't have Thomas. You probably just wouldn't cover
Well,
anybody.
he's got Bushman, he's got Hasselwood. He's got an incredibly dynamic offense. When Gill went down for the Giants, I breathed a little easier, and then obviously the pick six cost me the game. Against Adam, it is a slew of who you're going to
Do we
defend.
know how long Gill's out for?
I think it was just the game. Let me
Yeah,
check.
I don't actually have anything concrete on that, but I believe that it was just the game if I remember correctly.
I can check now. It was just the game. Yeah, Gill's back, and long may his receiving yards continue, but not against the Bears. So yes, it's if you take one, It's like cutting off the head of a hydra against Adam. You take one weapon away, two more come to replace him. It's very difficult now. Thomas and Kamara being injured, I do have tough tacklers. If we make when we tackle, I'm gonna try and make sure no one gets injured. But we have caused injuries in the past. I know we've been called for bounty hunting, but that is not what's going on.
Generally, you're called by James Cameron though, and he knows nothing. So don't worry too much about that.
So there is a chance a injury reactivates in this game. Could go either way. We might tackle Thomas with Hill or Booth and end up one of them getting injured, But even if my point is that even if you were to have an injured Kamara or an injured Thomas, you still have everyone else to worry about.
True.
So it's a tough game, and we're excited for it.
So, I mean, in terms of the 2 seed, basically what the 2 seed guarantees you is that when you get to the playoffs, you don't have to play the 3 seed. And it's just so happens to work out that at the minute, Adam's the 2 and Niall's the 3. So no matter which way this game finishes, whoever wins this game will basically effectively avoid the other one in the first round that they're in the playoffs. So that's quite big because, I mean, they're both NFC title guys from last year. Niall went to the bowl, so there's reasons for both of them to want to avoid the other one.
Yes, I believe I mathed it out in my head. If Stoops makes the playoffs and I make the 3rd seed, I'd be playing Stoops, which is a bastard. I'm not really don't want that.
Yeah, plus if you're the 3 seed and you play thingy, if you're the 3 seed and you play Stoops, then you'd have to go to Adam if he's the 2.
Yes, my only thing would my only thing would be I don't hate, and I'm probably going to get crucified for this in the chat. I don't hate the idea of playing on Wildcard Weekend as a divisional winner, simply because I have seen other people come in the 2 seed and get absolutely bitch slapped.
He means you, James.
And I'm not saying that, but I
twice.
Just think,
it happened twice.
But I think it's happened in the NFL as well. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember there being 2 seeds getting slapped as well, and
That's generally the Saints.
It just gives you rust, and so if obviously I want the bye week. I'm not trying to say I don't. I want the bye week. I want to get, for the first time in my CFM career, that is what I want. That is a progressive season for me. Even if I got the 2 seed and went out in the divisional, that is still progression for me. But if I don't get it, I'm not that pissed off about it, because I'd have a 13-3 season, which is progress for me, and it keeps me sharp.
Yeah.
I feel like if I had the 3 seed and I had to play Stoops, Adam, and Zach, let's say, the only person I'm worried about there is Stoops.
He's a bastard to play.
He is a wanker to play.
At the minute, the 6 seed and the 6 seed is likely going to be Tampa Bay or Dallas, and maybe Green Bay, but that's unlikely because they've got to win a lot of games and they've got to play Niall twice already. So I'd say it's going to be in the 5 and 6 will be the Bucks and Dallas, one way around or the other.
Yeah, and
so it's one of the hardest 6 seeds I've seen in ages.
Basically, I was about to say something very silly. I'm not going to give my game plans away, but I would be, if I had to play Earls, Adam, Zach. Adam's probably my worst game there, but at the same time, I've done it before. I can do it again. Yes, James beat me this regular season, but that's what, 5-1 or something like that over our head-to-heads over his time in like Minnesota and
whatever it is,
beforehand.
it's a big number to 1. I can look it up here. Hang on, bear with. It's not going to be positive for Dallas.
And arguably, I played James when I was mostly focusing on Zeke, and it was when my offense was probably at its worst. It wasn't a big scoring game, if I remember correctly. In fact, I can look up the schedule. But no, I'm excited for the game with Adam this week. Let's see.
On the head-to-head thing, you are 3-1 all time against James Earls, I believe.
Yeah, it's 10-20. It was a 10-20 loss. So
You're winless, by the way, against Stoops, the Arizona Cardinals in general, and Tampa Bay in your CFM career.
well, that's not true. That's not that you're counting. You're not counting postseason. I beat Tampa Bay last year to go to the bowl.
Oh, in the postseason? Oh, yeah, this is regular season just.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you have a postseason win over Tampa Bay. That's something.
Yeah, better. But
Better than not.
I don't want to touch on my last 10-minute ramble, and also I've been rambling enough as it is. But after the second or third CFM year, CPU teams just drop off. Tampa's not the killers they were anymore because no real team are the killers they are anymore.
Well, they're 9-2.
Yeah, but what's their player record?
1-1.
Who'd they beat?
Oh, only Stoops.
Must have been an odd-numbered week.
Okay, so let's talk AFC playoff field. So yeah, we've talked ages about the NFC there. AFC playoff field for anybody that's listening is Denver at 1, Houston at 2, Pittsburgh at 3, Buffalo at 4, Oakland at 5, Baltimore at 6. That's obviously a huge win for Houston there. To stable, it sort of effectively kills any hope that the Raiders have of getting a bye. But they look like they're going to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest, wildcard team. Obviously, they'll have to go on the road to one of the divisional winners. They've an outside chance. They're going to need James Cameron to drop. They're going to have to beat James Cameron head-to-head and get him to drop games. Who do we think is going to be in the title game? In the most creative way possible, you're going to tell me James Cameron and John, but if we can keep it a little bit more creative than that, even if it is those teams.
I can be more creative than that.
Good. Because I've cracked it a million
For me,
times and I'm not sure I
It
can.
could be Nick. It could be Nick, and
It's John Nick. Calling it now. It's John Nick.
I think it could be John Nick. Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Who does Nick play in divisional weekend then? James Cameron?
Yeah.
Because it has to be.
He'd be the one seed,
it has to
yeah.
be James Cameron. Yeah.
Yeah. If
Okay.
Nick's internet, if Nick's internet can hold up, then it'll be Nick and John.
Yeah,
The only thing is, though, John adapts very, very quickly. So if you can get him on the back foot inside a game, you have a chance. But as we've seen a couple of times this season, or over the last couple of seasons, if you've to play him twice, that second game, just sim it, because you don't really have a shot. Because twice we've seen him struggle against someone in the first game, and then the second game has come out and absolutely killed someone.
I mean, you can take it with an asterisk and a wee pinch of salt this time around, but he's literally played Nick back-to-back days, and the games were different.
Yep.
I'm going to put that more down to the fact that Nick didn't manage to turn the ball over at all in the first game. And that is the outlier rather than the second game. Turnovers will kill you. You literally cannot turn the ball over against this guy. He is that good.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the one seed in his own conference. I, honest to God, don't think he really cares. He's already won a Super Bowl from the 1 seed, so yeah, they might as well go for the 2 seed. He, as the 2 seed, he can't face Baltimore, but he'll get the Steelers, the Bills, or Nick in the divisional round. I would like to see this played out as like a 3-peat. I'd like to see Nick and John in the divisional round. At the moment, despite how I felt at the start of the season, I can't see anybody coming out of the AFC that isn't John. And I think low-key, the 3 best teams in the NFC are already prepping for John to be the AFC team.
yeah. I think John's going to win the AFC, but I think Nick can make it the title game. I think that would be a huge step for Nick, obviously.
Well, it would, because if he gets the title game, he's going to have to beat a player, the way it's shaping up.
How sexy would it be though if it was Nick and James Cameron in the title game?
That would
That
I
be
don't
would
see it.
be,
I don't see it happening. I don't. Yeah, I do see it going through John,
yeah.
but
No, no,
can you
yeah.
imagine how
If one of
sexy
them
that
could
would be?
knock, if one of them could knock him off, it would make a really, really interesting title game.
if Baltimore, what do you call it? At the minute, if it finished today, if Baltimore win their wild card game, it would send Nick to John. So it is possible to get the two AFC West teams in the title game. Would be interesting.
Hypothetically, yeah.
We'll get a little
Yeah.
preview of it anyway in week 14. They play each other in Oakland. A little bit less on the line now. It's not such an important game after Nick dropped one to John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, last thing I want to chat about before we get into the segments is the divisions. First of all, just a quick recap of clinching scenarios. If you're the Giants, the Texans. Oh, hang on, that's happened actually, the Week 12 stuff. And it did happen, so it's all correct. If you're the Giants, the Texans, or the Broncos, you have clinching scenarios this week. That is, if Houston can beat the Titans, they'll win the AFC South by half a win, really, really early. If the Giants can beat the Seahawks and the Niners can beat the Dallas Cowboys, the Giants will win the NFC East.
Ooh, that's a tough one now. You're asking the Niners to do something this season.
Yeah, the 1-10 team has to beat the guy who never loses
Yeah.
the CPU. I mean, I have to put it up. James Searles don't disappoint us. And if James Cameron and John both win their games, the Denver Broncos will have clinched at least the 6th seed. They'll have clinched the playoff berth.
Right.
So, in terms of division chasing, there's really only 4 divisions that are on the precipice of being won. Like I say, if results break the right way this week coming, the Giants and the Texans could win their division. A little bit further away than that, but very much the next week or two, depending on how results go. The Bills could win the East and the Bears could win the North. The Bears at the minute are 2 games clear. If they were to beat the Saints and then beat the Packers the following week, that would clinch the NFC North. If Adam wins this game, if Green Bay lose their game in the same week, there's still an outside chance that Niall can go on to win the North really early. It would be. And it's the same sort of deal with the Bills. They play the Jets in a few weeks, and they're going to have to win that to win the division early. The others are all super tight. There's a tie for the top of the AFC North, tie for the top of the... oh no, it's not a tie for the top of the NFC West now. Rams beat Stips. And Saints are 1 game clear of Tampa Bay. I'm just trying to look to see if there's any first-time division winners. The stat I wanted to bring up was for Niall's division, the NFC North. For the first 6 years of CFM, it went Vikings, Packers, Vikings, Packers, Vikings, Packers. And that was snapped by the Bears last year. Niall's first ever division title in CFM history as well. And he could be about to go back to back. He'll be the first ever back-to-back NFC North winner in CFM history ever. Feel for the Lions, who have never come within a fucking sniff of being the top.
Of anything, really.
It's also the last division. The only if Nick winning the AFC West this year is the only way this can be tied. Niall's division is the only one that has been won by 3 different teams and 3 different users in 3 different years. So 2020 was James Earls with the Vikings, 2021 was John with the Packers, and 2022 was Niall with the Bears. So if somebody wants to jump in as the Lions now and win out. But the AFC West is open for that as well. It was the Raiders under me, and then Denver under James Cameron. If Nick was to win it under the Raiders, it would be just 2 teams, but 3 different coaches in 3 different years, which is mad.
It's still pretty impressive, yeah.
I'm looking at the NFC South, which since 2016 has been won by the Saints, and only 1 year it wasn't won by Adam, and he wasn't in the league. It's literally always been the Saints.
That's insane.
In terms of division chasers, the leaders of the divisions right now are the Steelers, the Bills, the Broncos, the Texans, Bears, Giants, Rams, Saints. And apart from the North, which is a 3-way split really, everybody only has one other team that's kind of chasing them. That's the Jets, the Raiders, the Titans, the Packers, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, and the Bucks. And I mean, the Jets and the Cowboys are 2 that stick out there. Like they're kind of done. I mean, the Cowboys are 8-3 and they're playing really well. They're not going to catch the Giants, for fuck's sakes. They have an inferior divisional record and they lost head-to-head twice. They're not going to catch them.
Because of the Giants' ridiculous schedule this year.
Yeah, which wrapped up the 6-0 really quick. Then he was off.
Yeah.
In saying that, James Earls, if you take out games against Zach, James Earls is 8-1 and hasn't lost a divisional game.
Yeah. Well, James will get into the playoffs, of course, but
You
it'll
got two
be
options,
as a
James:
wild card team.
get good or move teams. Where are we? Three-word game. Three-word game. Yes, there's some, again, like every three-word game week, there's some absolute crackers and some that I'm looking at going, oh god, I did write that, didn't I? So the Saints, I'll do the Saints and the Bears together first. Not because they're playing this week, but because they actually, there's a really fun stat I've got to share for them. So the Saints game, they beat the Bengals 20-13. My three-word game is Alvin, no chipmunks. So Kamara's playing really well, but he seems to be the only one that's really making a statement. Michael Thomas coming back helps massively, because we say that, I mean, I think it's a fair statement to say the Bears' offense hasn't been fully up to scratch this year. Mm-hmm. If you look, and the Saints' offense has, so you look at the last 3 weeks, the Saints have scored 96 points in the last 3 weeks, all against CPU teams. Niles played 2 CPU teams and a player team and scored 91. There is, yeah, right. There is not a massive difference in terms of these offenses. The Bears' offense is a middling to poor offense that's starting to play well, and the Saints' offense is an elite offense that has hit a patch where it's like, uh-oh. And the two teams happen to play each other, and I'm super excited for that. So yeah, if I get any bite back about Alvin, no chipmunks, it is just Alvin at the minute, and I have the numbers to prove it. Bears three-word game, they lost 29-31 to the Giants. One bad play. You're telling me there's 2 bad plays. One was silly, but just the pick six is the only one you can't live with. Like, you can't live with, rather. That was the backbreaker. I thought you were almost flawless to that.
Yeah.
Denver Broncos beat the Niners 50-7. Three-word game, seen this before. They literally beat the Titans 51-17 about 4 weeks ago. Same game, different uniforms.
How many slants were thrown in that game?
I would say probably not. It's just it's a deep out to Noah Fant under a bunch of verticals that the CPU doesn't know how to defend. Paging Nick and anybody else that plays James Cameron. Cardinals lost 24-10 in an absolute heartbreaker to the Rams. My three-word game is halfback draw 25. It's literally, that's the only play that the game suggests, and like a sedated person, you just keep taking the medicine, and it's not good for you. You need to score more than 10 points in a regular season game.
We need is sorry to cut across, my little point for Stoops' thing there is we need a 2K Madden so that we can have the ability to fire offensive coordinators, because whoever Stoops is, I swear, is running around with a fucking saucepan on his head. He's never seen the game of football before.
Just shouting stupid shit like, throw the ball to Mark Andrews!
It's either that or
one of the 200 reasons we need a 2K Madden.
It's either that or he's best mates with Drake and wants Drake to break the Russian yards.
He's got a lot of money on Drake.
Yeah.
I do feel sorry for Stoops. His third down late in games, his offense just fucking shits it, really. And you get yourself into these positions where a field goal's realistic, and then it's, as Ian's saying, first down, draw play. Second down, slants that are slapped down by a linebacker and nearly picked off. Third down, incompletion or sack. And then fourth down's a big heave that loses them the game. And it just...
But I know you don't want to abandon the run game, but it almost feels like if the offensive coordinator is a man running with a saucepan on his head, Stoops is that fucking abused girlfriend that keeps coming back to him, because you gotta at some point stop running the draw plays and start choosing your plays by personnel, formation, even by play type, and just choosing something yourself and just saying fuck the halfback draw right now. Not abandon the run game, but just sometimes.
Yes, it feels like if the offensive coordinator's running around with a saucepan on his head, Stoops keeps hitting it with a wooden spoon to see if it'll make a different sound. And
I just think he's lost touch a bit. Stoops started the season 1-2, right? And then he came to me and was like, help me with this playbook, it's garbage. And I went through it all with him, and I'm like, do this, there's a cool motion here, you can tweak the personnel, put this tight end on for this play, don't forget about Drake, move Kirk about, Kirk's always at X, move him about the formation. His next 3 games, beat San Francisco, beat Seattle, beat Adam in overtime. right? Then he had the
Stoops has
bye.
it in him.
Then we had the bye week. Then we had Christmas. Then we had a long layoff. Stoops' last 4 games: lost to Chargers, beat Kansas City, lost to James Cameron, lost to the Rams. Mate, I am here. If you want to send me another message, I will send you the exact same list of plays I sent you in week 3 that set you up. You need to get back
He's
to
due a
them.
win now, though. He'll get a
Yeah,
win this week.
100%.
I
Dallas.
love Stoops, and Stoops' attitude is incredible. Just break up with your offensive coordinator, mate. Just take it in your own hands.
He's no
And
longer.
you'll...
He's no longer good for you. I'm loving this analogy. I'm not going to let it go. Dallas Cowboys destroyed Jacksonville 35-16. 3-word game through the air. Zeke was kind of pish. I don't really think it mattered. It seemed to be pass on first down, pass on second, pass on third, pass on fourth. It was quite refreshing for Dallas, to be honest. I don't want you abandoning the punt game. I don't really think you did punt, because generally whenever you wanted to give the ball back to Jacksonville, you just threw it at them. But you were really... Your aerial attack was really good. It's reflected in the team of the week. I think you're a little too tight end reliant. Like I've had digs before at Evan Engram and Trey Burton, but at least there's a little bit of variety to them. When I look at Chris Herndon, the Dallas tight end, he runs one fucking route. One route. And that's the only route he runs, and that's a problem. And you don't win player games, and it's not just lag. Giants beat the Bears 31-29, 3-word game. Wake up call. This is PvP games against top PvP players, top PvP defenses, games that come down to the wire. Again, I'm not disputing what anybody else has said. I think Giants probably deserve to win the game.
100%. I would dispute that, and I was in the game.
If there's not a missed PAT, I don't know how close this is. I mean,
my Alexa just...
Law. If I would say if Niall doesn't miss the PAT, the game finishes totally differently, and I wouldn't like to bet which way it finished. Raiders lost 28-7 to Houston, but they also tied 14-14 with Houston, which is what these are based on. So the 3-word game is Jacobs leads way. I thought Jacobs had a real breakout day. Who says you can't run against player teams? You totally can. Had John on the ropes. I'm going on full disclosure here on the podcast. I think John wins the first game 14-14. And I don't particularly think it's... Not that it's not close. He probably wins it 17-14, if not a touchdown. But I'm 100% convinced John wins it, but it's not a blowout or anything like that. It would have been down to the last drive of the game. But I mean, he's what was he, third in inches or third and 1, and it was a 2-minute warning. So all he's got to do is snake, and then he can run another minute and 20 off the clock. And the Raiders' offense is not one that goes up the field in 3 plays. So I wouldn't want to be next.
It's not one that goes up in 3 minutes. Like it's
exactly. He's not going to chase that game.
Insult. Just
no, absolutely.
Not a quick fire offense at all.
But if I'm Nick, I just disregard the 28-7. I actually liked what he did in the 28-7 game. He came out throwing and was like, I'm going to try and beat John with a pass, because he's already tried to beat John with a run. It was a free, it's a free hit game. Losing it doesn't really hurt him all that much. But he's learnt what he can and can't do against John. If I'm Nick, I just bottle the first 3 quarters of the first game. Do not turn the ball over. Wait for John's inevitable solo turnover. Capitalise on it and run the fuck out of the clock. Houston obviously beat Oakland that game 28-7 or 14-14, however you want to look at it. My 3-word game for Houston is who's got next. Who is going to beat him? CFM is going to get really boring if one guy wins it all the time. Trust me, I was that guy. And that's why I left.
If only Adam can beat him, it's going to become...
If only Adam can beat him? Can Adam beat him? Adam hasn't beaten him in a while.
He's beaten him before, though. I'm saying that we need somebody else, like a Zach or a
James Earl's beaten me before. Winning once is not the be-all and end-all.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody thinks that Adam beating John's a fluke. Like
No, absolutely not. They actually have played each other sparingly few times since. I think John's 2-1 against them all time. It's not like a wide difference.
Back to my point, one of something I made, I said at the very, very start of the pod about this CFM has a long memory, both to its detriment and its advantage, and I think we are still looking at Adam like he is 3-4 seasons ago. Adam, he is being beat now, and he's been beaten by me. He's been beaten by like first year Zach, who beat me as well. But Adam had a lot more time to prepare for that game, and he didn't.
Plus,
He's been beaten by John.
you were the
He's
first guy to play Zach. Adam had seen the game between you and Zach before
exactly.
his one.
So, not I'm not trying to say Adam's a bad player. Don't take that. Please don't take that from what I'm trying to say. He is still a top tier player, but he is a lot more human than he has been this entire CFM ever since we started it with Matt. He is a lot more human now, but everyone talks about him in the NFC like he's still the uppermost echelon. And yes, this is Zach's first year of exploding like this and being undefeated, and I made him look more human. Yes, it's my first year being 9-2 and being in the conversation for the 2 seed, but I'm in the conversation for the 2 seed, and I
With
just
two
think,
other teams, not just Adam. So I know what you mean.
yeah, like, you know, I'm not trying to take anything away from him or saying that we shouldn't take him seriously. Of course we should. But if John can't beat Adam, there are others.
No, if you mean if Adam can't beat John?
Yes, sorry.
Oh,
got
sorry.
my
It's like
names mixed
if
around.
John can't beat Adam, I'm like if John can't beat Adam, now you've solved the problem. Adam wins.
No, other way around. But sure, even James Cameron nearly beat John in his rookie year in the divisional if it hadn't been for a slant.
Yeah,
know?
I mean John's not invincible. He's very, 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 very good. And
He
James,
is a dog John.
I feel like Icarus flying too close to the sun. That was James Cameron's chance to beat him. I was really high on James Cameron in the off season, and I've seen precious little. He's a YouTuber. All James Cameron does is send a load of vertical routes to confuse the D and run routes underneath it. That's cool, but the granddaddy who invented that will be the other side of you in the AFC title game, and he's better at that than you. So you're not going to
Oh,
beat
yeah.
him at his own game. Like, who's the furthest player from John? Nick? And Nick ran him to a 14-14 going down to the 2-minute warning. Whereas I cannot ever imagine James Cameron and John being 14-14 because they're both YouTubey, spammy tricking each other. But John's going to always win that kind of battle.
Is. You know who else is furthest away from John?
Who?
Daniel. What happened in that game?
I don't think Daniel's a million miles from John. I'd be
John
really,
fucked
I'm
up
really,
AZ.
I'm really curious to get Daniel's take on this. I think Daniel is sort of what John. I think they're
Wants
in
to be
the,
when he grows up.
yeah, obviously. I think they're in the same bracket in
grows
terms
up.
of like Daniel doesn't get them all off YouTube, but Daniel finds a play that works and spams the shit out of it. And it's not a play that's in Madden; it's one he's invented himself.
Just saying, by the way, the new Lego Star Wars is going to be open world.
That's a lot
enough.
to process in one sentence.
With 23 planets in it. 300 playable characters.
Have you just tagged me in it on Facebook?
I have, yeah.
I will get to that after
Oh.
the pod. That's class.
Tag me in it.
I will tag you it now. Just tagged it. It looks fucking amazing. It's coming out, like it's Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox are all getting it.
Right,
But it
so
looks-
player of the week time.
I've just tagged you below Aiden's coming out now.
Everybody in Player of the Week is basically a wide receiver. They're just, I didn't pick a linebacker and I didn't pick a DB this week because I just couldn't. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 player teams. 6 of the 8 player teams are represented in it. 2 CPU guys. So I'm gonna name the team of the week, and then I'm gonna name you your players that were in it that didn't make it because. Like there's at least like, I'm looking at 1 receiver and 1 tight end who didn't make it, who could have made it if I was able to pick 5 receivers, but I can't. I feel like Buffalo, so I'm going to. I'll name the team of the week first of all. So team of the week quarterback of the week is Dak Prescott. I thought he was outstanding.
Okay.
Running back 1 was Alvin Kamara. Running back 2 Josh Jacobs. Wide receiver 1 is DeAndre Hopkins because of course it is. Wide receiver 2 was Brandon Cooks of the Rams. Thought he smoked Stoops. I thought he was really good. Tight end 1 is Noah Fant. The guy in the flex is Trey Burton. Yeah, there are other tight ends I couldn't get on this list. And the defensive lineman is Carl Lawson of the Bengals, who did his best to keep them in the game against Adam. Other guys who I have on the list that didn't make it: Leonard Fournette of the Jags, Trevor Lawrence of the Niners, Mark Andrews of the Cardinals, and Darius Slayton of the Giants. They're in no way, shape, or form bad players. They had good days, but not as good as the ones selected. This is the tightest week yet, and it's mad that the tightest week yet. Dak Prescott was the quarterback, isn't it? So I'm just going to do a quick wee check because I love a wee bit. I mean, if anybody loves a wee bit of controversy, it's me. That's proof that Zach's still listening. Just want to check who all's listening, bar Zach, before I do my herd hierarchy, because there's a couple of changes.
I feel like I would have been happy of swapping Burton for Nakobe Dean to put Slayton in. Nakobe Dean had a good game.
Did he?
Yep.
Okay. No, I watched the game. I'm fairly sure he didn't, but like, I mean, there are certain players in your defense that did a pretty good game. I'm about to absolutely flabbergast people listening. Darius Slayton literally held the game in his back. I am shook. I agree that Darius Slayton held the whole game in his back, but it was only like 2 plays. Was it not him that had like the 75,000-yard reception to start the game against cover 4?
I can't believe that happened against cover 4 too. Where was my fucking... I'm not getting into it now.
Daniel, you can be my impartial adjudicator, because you haven't even seen these lists till I announce them. You've seen all the games. DeAndre Hopkins and Brandon Cooks both outperformed Darius Slayton.
Slayton had 2 massive grabs, but most of it was on Madden DBs that can't tackle when they're half a yard from somebody.
He's my Giants nomination. I thought he was class.
He was good. Like, I mean, I'm not saying any receiver can do it, but it looked like... Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't even feel necessarily comfortable with it, but I'm almost 100% certain.
The receivers the DBs were closer to Darius Slayton than Kevin King was.
Hopkins is the best. It's the two you got to look at are Brandon Cooks and Trey Burton. Were they better than Darius Slayton? It doesn't help in some people's eyes that Trey Burton literally lost that exact game, but I thought he was better. Like, without Darius Slayton, Zach can still probably win by 7. Without Trey Burton, Niles beat by 17.
Yeah. No, I can see your point.
Go back and watch the game. Trey Burton, with no Trey Burton in that game, bear in mind that he doesn't have a wide receiver worth a damn outside the numbers, and David Montgomery's hurt. Without Trey Burton, he doesn't score 20 points. And not that he lent on him, he didn't use him to get all the way up the field. He went to him in the red zone at the right time with a variety of routes that kept the Giants linebackers guessing. Burton was important, and Cooks was unbelievable. I know he was playing Stoops, but he was eye-catchingly noticeable in terms of extending the drives, getting first downs, getting a touchdown, and killing the game at the end. I think the only thing that Brandon Cooks didn't do was pick Kyler Murray off. Kyler Murray actually didn't really turn the ball over too much in the game at all. I thought that's the thing. It was so annoying that Stoops only scored 10 points because he didn't play poorly. He's played poorly before and lost, but not like that. So, not herd hierarchy time. No new teams, and only one of the 10 teams retains their position. So, number 10, I went with the 7-3 Steelers. They're down to. Number 9 is the 7-4 Cardinals. The reason the Steelers, by the way, are 7-3 is because they're Monday Night Football, so the Steelers-Browns game has not happened yet, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So everybody else should total to 11 wins. Call me out if I'm wrong. Or 11 games. Rams are 7-4 on top of the West. You gotta have faith. Gotta have faith was almost my 3-word game for the Cardinals. They can still do it. Stoops is already on to the draft. Like, oh well, fuck it, that season was a write-off. You're 1 game behind them, and you play them again. All is not lost, my friend. But you do need to win some more football games. At number 8's Dallas at 8-3. Dallas for like the last 2 or 3 have been a new team. Like they're sort of good. Before I go any further from Dallas, by the way, at 8, can we talk about Dallas just a sentence or two? How do you see them? Because sometimes they're the 5th best team in the CFM, and sometimes they're not even as good as CPU teams. I don't know what to make of them.
They're like my team on steroids.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving and shaking, and
there's a lot of reliance on good players, and then there is the game that implodes. But when they implode hard. They have bigger highs and lower lows than my team, but they're a very similar makeup.
Yes, I don't even want to hear what you want to say, Daniel. It'll not be better.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
Number 7 is the 9-2 Bucks. They are for real. I wouldn't want to play them. If I get them in the wild card, you're probably smoking them. But they're 9-2. They're doing pretty well. Number 6, I have the Oakland Raiders at 8-3. There's two player teams that lost this week that moved up in the rankings. So I was like, that is a nice loss. That is a nice boulder. I like that team now. Oakland moved up. I really liked the effort. I got to put hand on heart here. I haven't watched the second game, the 28-7 game, and I have no intention to watch it because all I'm going to see is John score touchdowns and Nick not score touchdowns, and I've seen that all of last year. The 14-14 game is a far more true representation for me. It just shows you what happens when Nick doesn't turn the ball over when John hasn't played you before. Number 5, and you might feel a little bit aggrieved you're in 5 and not 4. Number 5, I went for the 9-2 Bears. They're up 2 from 7th last week. Again, they lost. How are they moving up? I really liked it. Again, I don't want to rehash the same stuff in the podcast that we talked about maybe like 30 minutes ago. But Niall definitely feels like he's in and around arm's length of the 2 seed.
Well, I think that Zach's the guaranteed 1 seed now.
Yes, he will be the 1 seed.
And I think Niall has a decent chance to be in the playoffs. So I think that 5's probably fair enough.
Just putting it out there. If I play Zach in the playoffs and Zach is playing the same game, I fancy my chances.
So would I. Number 4 is the 10-1 Broncos. This is so close. You are alarmingly for the late end of the season. You're alarmingly unimpressive. The Bears feel like
the way the Broncos are playing it must make Niall wish that he was playing that the Bears were in the AFC North, not the NFC North.
The Bears are by proxy beneath you. It is not. The top 4 are going to be the 4 that play on title weekend, and I know if I put the Bears in 4, then I've got 3 NFC teams in the top 4.
Yeah, you've kind of got to have what you think are going to be the title games.
What I'm trying to say explicitly is I am a little bit more impressed by Chicago right now than I am with Denver. But Denver are 4th for now. Number 3 is the 10-1 Saints. I figure I have them as favourites. We're going to get onto that. I have them as favourites for the Bears game. But as Niall might have hinted at, not as favourite as they may have been in yesteryear. And I'm also taking him over someone like James Cameron right now. Because James Cameron is not a master of the spammy shit yet, he's just dabbling.
Anzalone would tear Fant to shreds.
My number 2 spot is the 11-0 New York Giants. And my number 1 spot is the 9-1-1 Houston Texans. They are undefeated and they're going to be the 1 seed, and if they keep going they'll be the best offense in pro football.
When you look at the 1 and 2, yeah, the Giants looked vulnerable. The Texans look like they've had. John might have dropped his last game before next season. John might not lose again until next year.
The two will play each other,
plausible.
and I'm not gonna take. They play each other in week 15. I'm not gonna take a whole great deal from it, no matter which way it goes.
I think both teams will probably be locked into where they are by then. Zach will be locked into the 1 seed. James Cameron might be locked into the 1 seed, so John might know he's the 2. And neither team will really show much.
That'll just be a fun game.
John has a loss and a
people
tie.
can sit down and watch.
John has a loss and a tie, and Zach hasn't lost. I will, to take Adam's line, I will die on a cross with the Texans at 1 over the Giants from this week. Because they both won a player game this week. There is a considerable gap between 2 Giants and 3 Saints. But if you're asking, I don't know how you want me to do these rankings. The hottest team in form, the best team, who would win, whatever the category is.
It's going to be a very boring
Texans.
ranking if you just do like who's got the best record.
Oh, but this is the
Then
thing.
there's no point in doing a podcast. We just put up. Adam just posts the standings each week, and that's us.
Zach has just beaten like a veteran PvP player to extend his unbeaten season that he's moved down. I'm trying to justify it by, from where I'm sitting, Zach has gone from the Super Bowl favourite to the guy favoured to lose in the Super Bowl. It is not a huge drop off.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it looked. I would have had more faith in the Giants beating the Texans before that game.
Yeah. Also,
and now,
the reason that I moved Zach down, after Zach's game with Niall, Zach was still top. The reason Zach went down, and Zach literally only has BT to blame. John struggled massively with Nick the first time,
but still would have won.
and
I think.
marginally, but the day after, John smoked him. John will meet Zach before the bowl, and that's Zach's best and only chance to beat him. When they meet in the bowl, John will have seen it before, know what he's about. You can you can argue it, but that's just how I see it.
Thing is, Zach could put out like not a weakened team, but
Zach can
not
bench
use...
Herbert and bench Barkley, and John will still be like, cool, that's what your guys can run.
Well,
okay.
let's be fair to Zach here, just to play the whole table, and Zach, you don't get to a potential 16-0 season without being incredible. Now, unfortunately, it is in the year where the CPU is fairly dick, but still, you can drop a trap game. So let's be fair to Zach here. He is probably going to go 16-0, and
Is he?
we've not seen Zach in the playoffs.
Can I get an official comment there? You think that he beats John?
I think it'll be a real tight game that'll come down to a field goal, in my opinion.
But if it's going to be a tight game to back up that, or what was I going to say?
It's whoever possesses the ball last.
If it's going to be that tight a game, which I agree with you, it will be.
Zach will need to play his best, which
Yeah,
means John will see it.
Exactly.
John will happily lose by field goal in the regular season and then...
But you didn't let me finish my point. We've not seen Zach in the playoffs yet, either year. He could be settling in because we all have a mostly CPU season, right?
Yes.
And I feel like Zach, he came into our game playing the same football, and we are thinking that Zach, who plays football in real life, has a couple of rings himself and all, isn't going to go identify his own weaknesses and be like, okay, I need more in a PvP game. Leave it behind. Maybe just try some new stuff against John. And as much as John is going to see Zach he might not see a different style of game from John, but he'll know what works and doesn't work, and he can go and build on that.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing Zach's preparation a disservice to just say, John's a bastard to play. John is a prick to play, and that's not on John. That is just his
So you could have took the to play bit out there.
No, and I do mean to play.
To play, yes.
But
nobody wants to open that box again.
We are not giving Zach his credit for his own ability to change his game around, and I think Zach, while even if they meet in the Super Bowl, would be the underdog, I think it wouldn't be a blowout, and I see that Zach could very easily beat John as well.
Oh, in terms of Zach being the underdog, I think even if you're Adam, actually, it doesn't really matter who you are. If you face John in the bowl, you're the underdog. He's the defending champion, and he's also been to a bowl and lost it before, which is part of the reason why he won one. There's some solace for Bears fans who lost the bowl last year. Generally, you lose the bowl, and then you're like, oh, right, okay. The second time around is much more fun. In terms of... Also, we've been on this podcast for like an hour now, and I haven't had a dig at Niall. So for anybody listening for that, here we go. I limited myself to just one. And I waited for the right time to put it in. You're saying that we are discounting Zach's ability to game plan. Yes. I think that's Zach's ability to game plan is one of his biggest strengths. I am not discounting his ability to game plan. I am looking at his PvP record. His PvP wins this year have come against James Earls and yourself. Neither of whom I would refer to as elite player versus player guys. In fact, James Earls is definitely the opposite, and you're sort of middling ground. If Zach had played against Adam and James Cameron this year, then yes, he could game plan off them a little bit. John, we're all talking about what if Zach plays a reduced team against John or doesn't want to show him everything. I truly, honestly, John doesn't care about his record. John's locked into a first or second seed if he wins the rest of his CPU games. I think John racks up with backups at every position and doesn't play Zach very well. Zach, the only good team that Zach is going to play in PvP this year is John, and John's going to show him nothing because John has no reason to show him anything. What is he, 9-1-1? If he goes like 13-2-1 or 12,
John's getting the 2 seed.
yeah, no matter what happens, even if he loses out, he'll probably end up with the 2 seed. So he has no reason to play even Watson, Hopkins. He has no reason to play them against the Giants at all.
Well, to be honest, if I'm Zach, I know you're looking at 16-0 season, but if you're after hearing this pod and maybe
the pod does
if
sway
I
people's
wasn't-
opinions.
maybe if I was in Zach's position, I would be like, okay, well that makes a lot of sense about John, yada yada yada. I would come out with a reduced team. I would play him like Adam played him in the regular season. What was it, last season, season before?
That was
where
really
you
clever,
just
yeah.
ran the ball. That's all I would do. Sorry, not Adam. Zach has shown he can run over teams as much as Nick is doing it this season. Zach is still the quintessential running player.
Essence
and
of
I
running the
think
ball. Yes.
He could come out with his entire team, bars O-lineman and Barkley, on the bench, and as you know, his backups on, and he could show you a fair going, and he might still go 16-0.
If I'm Zach, and again, this is just me speaking honestly, if I'm Zach, I play my starters against John, and I beat John, because 16-0 is a nice solace that no one can take away from me.
But then, whenever...
If you
I'm
lose
Zach,
the ball,
I'm now
you lose,
thinking,
you lose
yeah,
the ball.
You lose the ball, and then all you're going to be hearing about is, oh, well, maybe Zach should have sat his people, right? What's the point of a 16-0 season if you don't win the game that matters?
No. Zach will not be able to hear that, because if Zach goes 18-1 and is undefeated with the New York Giants right up until the bowl and loses the bowl, he'll be too big. Daniel's got it. He will be so deaf in one ear from me and the other ear from Adam, listening to, oh, now the shoe's on the other foot. That's funny. Oh, 18-0. It's not an undefeated season if you don't win the last game. I mean, it is.
The only
but...
thing that would make that better for you is if Nick beat him in the bowl, because then he'd have lost to the 5 seed as well. That would be.
And Eli Manning's playing instead of Derek Carr. Oh.
Exactly, but that's my point.
If there's nobody,
zero...
nobody will come back to him if he wins the ball or if he loses the ball and go, oh, he should have rested people against John. No one wants to be Doug Peterson. Do not rest people
In any way.
unless you're John and you're locked in.
The only thing I have in common with Doug Peterson is we're both unemployed.
Although you'll get a job again sooner, probably.
And I've got a ring in my room that I earned, so.
And he's got a book deal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I'm
James
just saying,
Cameron's
you have
playing
a
for the
chance
spot,
to have the quickest and best turnaround of a team in CFM history. I have no problem going 15-1 if I win the ball. If I win the bowl, because I can blow John's doors off because he doesn't know what I'm doing.
But you can guarantee... No, but that's the thing. Even if John doesn't know what you're doing, John's still the favourite for that game. 15 yes, I would go 15-1 to win the bowl, but you're more likely going to go 15-1 and not win the bowl and be left with nothing.
Well, obviously, it's Zach's prerogative, it's Zach's choice, but I'm just saying there is no shame in going 15-1 if it sets you up better to go to the bowl.
Do a Jerry Rice, or not Jerry Rice, do a Jerry Jones, Zach. Why not Pepsi or Coke? Why not both? Win out, and then, because I mean, we have seen it time and time again. We literally seen it last night. It's not Packers Chiefs, it's Packers Bucks. It's never Adam and John. We do not get the bowl we want because the Super 1 seed that's doing really well has a shit divisional round weekend. Usually it's the Saints in real life. You cannot guarantee you're going to win the bowl. Even John can't. We have hypothesized in this that not only might James Cameron, who ran him close, beat him, but Nick, who's never been to the fucking postseason. All three people in this podcast, oh, Nick's never been to the playoffs, and all three of us are like, Nick could beat John in title weekend. Things happen.
Oh yeah, things do happen.
Shit happens in the playoffs. It's like, oh wow. But the regular season, you can control your destiny.
If John kicks a field goal, Nick's a drive away from beating him.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, Zach can be 16-0, or he can be 19-0, or 25-0. If he gets to the divisional round and it's snow and Barkley gets hurt, for etc., or he gets a catch that's ruled out of bounds down at the 2 on a 4th down. The regular season's 16 games. It's easier to. I mean, Adam's showing it
Oh,
year in
I
year.
forgot it's Monday. I forgot Raw's on tonight.
It
Sorry,
is, yes.
continue.
For one night only, you
By
can
the way,
get discounted deals.
for any football fans in the group, Wycombe Wanderers are 1-1 with Spurs in the FA Cup.
Brilliant. Is that going? Does that go to extra time? How does the FA Cup work?
It's only at half time, but yeah, goes to extra time penalty.
Raging, but Adam's showing that it's easy. And Adam has one Super Bowl, but he has like what is it, 6 now, 15 in one seasons. It is so much easier to control your destiny over a 17-week period than it is over a 45-minute period.
Oh yeah.
The best, I can go back and show the best team in CFM hasn't won the bowl half the years. The best team in the example I always think of is the best team in year 3. Everybody remembers it. Leonard Fournette was MVP, and Matt had the number 1 passing offense and the number 1 rushing offense, and he didn't play in the bowl that year, but he was the best team.
Yeah.
John's been the best team probably for the last 4 years, and he's made 2 bowls and won one of them. Things happen that stop you getting to the bowl. So, like I say, Niall's logic and the whole go 15-1 and that'll help you in the bowl is brilliant, but if you go 15-1 and get beaten divisional round weekend because the wind blew your kick wide, you're like, oh, fuck. There's so many 14-2 and 15-1 teams, like literally basically the Packers every single season of their existence, that don't get to the title game, or if they do get there, they lose it. You know, that's the first time Rodgers has hosted a title game, they said last night, which I don't believe is true.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying it's food for thought.
oh, absolutely. No, we can talk about this for hours on end. It's whatever Zach wants to do when he gets to week 15.
The best case for Zach is probably to accidentally drop a CPU game before then, so it's not even a conversation.
Aye, so it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the only thing I got to do is the Blazing 5. So we'll do the first 4. Niall, you're not calling the Saints Bears game. So we'll go Raiders at Colts. The Not Vegas line is Raiders by 6, and I'm taking the Raiders. Who have you guys got?
Raiders.
Raiders by 7.
I will go. Yeah, I will let that. Sorry, I jumped at that. I'll let Niall go first. Raiders by 4 for me.
Interesting game. Indianapolis. It's a division. It's a conference game, so it's one that Nick kind of needs.
The record's shite this year, but they've played
Their record's shite, but they're decent against PvP teams. You know you're in a game.
Is T.Y. Hilton still playing?
Oh, I have no idea actually. I mean, he's still there, but I just don't know if he's active or not.
If he is, watch your perimeter.
Devin Funchess as well, who's going to be the only CPU receiver that makes Team of the Year, is outstanding. Texans versus Titans, and as we now know, following the results from last week, this is for the division for the Texans. Obviously, the Titans can't win it this week, but Texans by 17 is the Not Vegas line, and I'm taking the Texans. They're going to be AFC South champs again, and they're going to win it first.
Texans.
Texans by... See, my brain is telling me like 27, but my heart is telling me like 7. So I'm going to cut the difference and say 17.
Go somewhere in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also going to go by 17.
Oh, brilliant. So everybody's Texans by 17. The spicy meatball of the week, Arizona versus Carolina. It's a football game in the NFL, so Stoops needs it bad. Not Vegas line is Cardinals by 3, and I had Panthers typed up before we came on the podcast, but I'm going to go Cardinals. But it is that close.
Yeah, I'm going to go Cardinals by 10, actually.
What?
I think he should be alright this week.
They only scored 10 last week, Daniel. You're saying he's going to win by 10?
That was last week, yeah. I think he should be fine.
I have a real caveat online.
Okay.
I don't know which one to go with. If he keeps listening to his OC, he's going to lose.
Panthers by...
it would be Panthers. If CMC playing and all, I'd say Panthers by 10. But if he takes his destiny into his own hands and doesn't touch that coaching suggestion screen, I think Stoops by 14.
But he needs... So you think not calling halfback draw is going to merit a 24-point swing?
I think if he takes his destiny into his own hands, Stoops' ceiling could be huge.
I mean, I have seen the guy struggle to select PAT from a kicking formation. I don't know where he's going to choose his plays, if not by coaching suggestions.
If you get stuck, if you're on a 2nd and 5, for instance, you've got Kyler Murray, choose a 4 verticals and roll out to the right. run alongside your running back if because four verticals should have a right
Yeah.
lean dump off. Either dump it off if you're going to get sacked by the outside linebacker, or if you've got a man between him and this, if you've got like your running back between you and the outside linebacker, run it with Kyler Murray. If I can run on Zach with Mitchell Trubisky, we've been saying this for a while now. Kyler Murray should be slamming defenses.
Who
But
is
he's
the Panthers? Do you mean who the Panthers QB is?
oh, let me
Fuck
check.
Because it's what do you call it? It won't be Teddy Bridgewater, and I don't think that Adam has played the. Christ, he hasn't. Has anybody played the Panthers this year? Do we know who the Panthers QB is?
Give me 2 seconds. Teddy Bridgewater.
It is Teddy Bridgewater.
2,450 yards, 208 for 327, so 63% completion. 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
I'm going to edit the what I call. I'm going to take Cardinals by 3 down, and the Vegas line has just changed with that news. It's now Cardinals by 2. There's a good chance that Teddy Bridgewater runs all over Stoops. Cardinals by 2. Come on, you can do it. You need to do it.
I'd seriously just fucking take it into your own hands. No, you are a fucking O-lineman. You know when the situation to run is, and you know what good defense. You just turn on your football brain, and you can smoke him. I believe in you, Stoops.
So the next one is the most the soonest to play. Apparently it airs after the podcast finishes. It's Denver versus the Chargers. A
Denver by
must-win game if he's going to keep the 1 seed.
Denver by
In fact, I'm gonna throw it out.
44.
Did you say Broncos by 44?
Yeah.
Bloody hell!
This is gonna be
Has
bad for
anybody
Noah
ever?
Fant.
Wait, hang on.
He won by
Seven-
47 last weekend.
Yeah.
No, he
is
didn't.
going
He
to throw-
didn't. 43 is the biggest margin that he's ever won by. So is this why
He
you're
is-
going by more?
He is going to throw bench routes to Fant the entire game, and
I thought-
is going to win.
I thought
him the
mine
game.
was really big. I went Broncos
Denver
by
still-
Broncos
are
by 30.
As long as their opponents are still being controlled by the CPU, they'll be fine.
Okay, Daniel, Broncos by.
35.
If he wins this by 7, I'm going to his house. Right, Daniel, last one. Saints at Bears. The not Vegas line is Saints by 4, and I'm gonna back Vegas and take the Saints. It's not great. The
Not
last
an easy one to call.
no.
I'm gonna go Saints by 3.
By 3.
Yeah, but
See,
I think
it's the
it's
same-
gonna be.
I-
It is
I
gonna
do
be that.
the-
It's not gonna be like a game where Adam's up by like 17 and
No.
Niall drags it back. I think it's really gonna be that close.
No, it's Saints 21, Bears 17. Like the not Vegas line I do based on the stats of the last few meetings and stuff. The smart money takes Adam over Niall for the same reason that the smart money takes Niall over James Earls. But as we've already seen this year, the smart money can be wrong. Yeah, Saints by 4 because their offense is 4 points better than the Bears' offense. It's just a case of whether
Totally
or not the
fair.
just a case of whether or not the Bears D can upset Jordan Love. He's been upset by several CPU Ds so far.
I know, totally fair. I'm so hoping to win the Giants game off the back of Herbert sacks. That would have been so sweet.
It would have just been so no one would have judged you for going on about that forever. It was so close. Like I really don't think at all that Herbert was particularly good. He made plays when he needed to. Sometimes he was dug out by the pick six,
Yeah.
the missed PAT.
Yeah. Alright, what's the next section?
That's all of my regular programming filled in. I'm just doing some housekeeping now to make sure that the group's aware of what's happening next, and I'll let James Cameron know we can play momentarily. Daniel, what have you got to finish up this week with then?
Got it about Frank Lampard.
So would I be, yeah.
Fucking second.
Wrong sport.
To be brutally honest about that. Absolutely heartbroken. Yeah, it feels very much. It's probably the closest I've ever felt in football to a team moving in the American football.
Yeah.
Like when they went from being the St. Louis Rams to being the LA Rams. Well, that was slightly different, obviously, because the Rams came from LA originally. But like when you look at the Chargers moving from San Diego, it was just a complete disconnect from the fans. And just the
They,
thing of, we want this at ownership level, so this is happening regardless.
yeah, there's certainly a little bit of that. In
I
terms of
just,
just glad you've brought Lampard up, I don't want to labour the point too long because I'm looking to wrap this up. But just speaking about Lampard being sacked the way he was, Daniel, let's say you're the owner of every CFM team.
yeah.
Just among player teams, who's the guy on the hottest seat? Who's the next guy to be Lampard in the CFM?
Don't think there's anybody necessarily on a very hot seat because
That's why I said who's on the hottest. I also don't think there's anybody particularly on a warm
you
seat.
look at Niall in Chicago a year ago, everybody was like, oh, Niall's going to get sacked. Made a bowl.
Right, that shuts everybody up.
Has an NFC championship sitting in his house. You look at James Earls, who is only behind an undefeated team. You look at James Cameron, who's the one seed. John, the current Super Bowl holder. Adam won a Super Bowl a year ago. You know, everybody. Nick took a team from nothing to probably going to be the 5 seed.
Probably Stoops is your hottest seat.
Stoops, yeah, it just. For
But I would like to
James
refine
Earls hasn't
that.
having a great season, but James Earls can fall back on last season. Stoops doesn't. Stoops missed the playoffs last year.
I also just threw up in
know-
the group chat the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I forgot. It's because it's not a regular segment. I put this up a couple of weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago now, about the James Earls having the easiest remaining schedule and Nick having the most difficult. So far, so good. The 4 teams that I said would have the easiest schedule have not lost a game between them, and the 4 that have the difficult schedules have lost 4 games between them. So that, I mean, that's I'm putting it in right now because I feel like it backs up Niall's point. We're not criticising anybody, but I feel like the hottest seat has got to be Stoops because he's lost 2 games there, and that there are harder game. I mean, this is a hard stretch. If you give this stretch to Niall like 3 years ago, he goes like 3-2. The Panthers, the
I would
Eagles,
like
the
to-
Seahawks, PvP, and the Rams.
I'd like to edit mine slightly.
How so?
It's Stoops' OC has the hottest seat.
No, he's fired, man.
Yeah, he is fucking unemployed. Well, he should be unemployed, but yeah, I think Stoops has probably got the hottest seat in the CFM. But
Does he still use the Cardinals O book?
Yeah, he doesn't do just yet.
he does, yeah,
think-
and I think that's part of the problem. But that's
I think that's part of the problem.
In the off season.
Yeah, if write it out for now, but I think you should give Cleveland a look. Cleveland's book isn't complicated, and after a while, after a few games, you will feel that it's maybe unexciting, but it will really help you get to grips with your offense.
Non-CFM related question.
Okay, last one because I'm going shortly.
Yeah, I have
Yeah, I have
this
to go
and
soon.
then one more thing, but it'll take 2 seconds. How frustrating is it right now being a Houston Texans fan?
Oh, Christ!
my god, it is so annoying. If I wasn't such an intensely loyal person, I'd fucking leave the team. But being a fan means being a fan with them through their best times and their worst times. Otherwise, the Jets would never have a fucking fan base, or the Browns. But Christ alive, how badly can you fuck up your star players? Like, you strip a defense that has been elite the entire time I've been a fan of that team, which is not super long, 2012, but since I started watching the sport, that has been at least a top 10 defense. We bring in Brian Cushing, who is an incredible legend for the team as the linebacker coach, and suddenly nobody can fucking tackle. All of us, I said every fucking week, all we do is our corners, our linebackers, other than Zach Cunningham, throw their pads like by the shoulder into someone, and of course all the ball carrier has to do is turn slightly to one side and you go skirting past them because you're not breaking down and grabbing them round the hips
You played-
and at least slowing them down for someone else to come and get them, and then you fucking ship away Hopkins for nobody, and now you're going to lose Deshaun Watson as well. It is an absolute our Super Bowl window, which I have argued has been open for a long time, is
And I argued
fucking
was closed.
shutting rapidly. It is shutting rapidly. Well, no, we had the ability and the talent to. All we were missing was Deshaun.
About
And then when we got
15 teams
Deshaun,
every year have the talent and ability to.
If
but
JJ
when
Watt is traded and Deshaun Watson is traded this offseason, how do you feel about being a Bears fan in September?
Question.
no, I will still be a Texans fan. I know I get a lot of stick in the chat because I've got a couple of Bears jerseys and a Bear hat and all, but that is just because it would have been the same with any team. If I'd been playing as the Lions, if I'd been playing as the Packers, well, maybe not the Packers because I never play as the Packers, but if I'd been playing as any team after 3, 4, 5 seasons with them, you get a bit of a soft spot, you know. And like one of the jerseys I have is Rigor. He doesn't even play for the Bears in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like,
I gotta say,
just
the wee fluffy, the beanie hat that says, I took the Bears to the bowl and all I got was this lousy hat is a nice touch.
So I have a wee soft spot for the Bears, but I am a Texans fan. I am 100% a Texans fan. Through thick and thin, I will be a Texans fan. They're my team. I've been through them with Brock Osweiler. I've been through them with the 2-14 season where we got Clowney, another player that was a fucking bust. Now that we've got rid of Bill O'Brien, we have a chance, but it all very much depends on who. Not this year, obviously,
Yep,
but it all very much depends on who they hire.
Yeah, definitely certain that you've been with the Texans through all of their lows, and if they ever have any highs, you'll still be on the train for that as well. We're gonna give
They've
you
had
last.
some highs.
it's the thing that the reason I brought it up is that I spoke to Connor about it. And I
I'm
also
trying to
spoke
give
Ian.
Daniel or Niall so there's 5 minutes of open mic time to talk about his CFM Bears, not the Texans. Come on.
Okay.
You know I'm gonna get it in the throat if we kill the podcast and Niall didn't get the open mic time that everybody else got at the end. Right.
To be fair, I've spoken a lot during this.
Fire. No, go ahead. This is just open mic night with Niall. 5 minutes of just yourself, your coach, your team, your players, your season, everybody else's.
I'm really proud of my season. I feel like my defense has been the best defense in the NFL. I feel like Nakobe Dean is. I'm probably going to go for it so much it's going to put people off it, but I will be amazed if he's not Defensive Rookie of the Year. He really deserves it. Everyone has come on leaps and bounds, and I think it's insane that we have so many players vying for spots in the playoffs. I really like the idea that was put out forward for transitioning to Madden 22 or 21, whichever it is. That
I actually don't know either myself.
we bring over a couple of our favorite players because my resistance has always been I draft good players and then a couple of seasons in you don't get to develop them, everyone's still in their rookie deals, and then you're shipped to another Madden and you're back to your basic team the way it was before with a couple of different off-season additions that happen in real life, but it just resets you, and I fucking hate that feeling. I hate the idea of, okay, there goes Rigor, and there goes my left guard Nestor, there goes Booth, and there goes Dean, all sort of stuff. I'd be raging if that happened. I like the idea of being able to nominate some people that come with you, because I think as much as I would love to just play out in Madden 20, the CPU obviously can't handle it. The CPU is worse at setting up teams than I am in the off season, and we've seen it where you would have the Eagles have dropped off the face of the earth, the Niners have dropped off the face of the earth. It's just
It feels like if we play on this Madden for another 5 years, all that's going to happen is 2 new teams a year are going to get worse.
yeah,
And eventually every team will be 8-8, 9-7.
exactly,
And just be pure shite.
or worse. You know, you'll
Yeah.
still have you. I think if we keep playing for another couple of seasons, we'll get a 0-16 team. We might even get one this year if the Eagles still haven't won. I'm not sure what their record is at the
I
minute.
worry we'd almost do
Sorry
the
for
opposite of that.
interrupting. We have a news drop here at the pod. You know the Pro Bowl's next week?
Right?
Yeah.
Have you seen who's playing as each team?
Who?
No.
The AFC team is going to be played by Deshaun Watson, Derrick Henry, Keyshawn Johnson, and Snoop Dogg. And the NFC team is going to be played by Kyler Murray, Jamal Adams, Marshawn Lynch, and Bubba Wallace.
Am I on some sort of fucking net?
I know, am I having a trip? Michael Strahan is going to be a host, so that's going to shine brilliant. Yeah, yeah. See if you can fit this ball in between his teeth.
A man who was pretty much always off Pro Bowl weekend. Let's get fucking him on. That'll be good.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to go in a minute. I just want to finish it off by saying everyone should be really, really proud. I really think Stoops should consider changing playbook or changing the way he calls plays, but he's not my team, and it's obviously his decision. I personally understand, people shut up, stop talking about my team, that sort of stuff. But I wish him the fucking best will in the world.
You're in the wrong league if you want people to stop talking about your team. We've literally dedicated a podcast to
it. Do you agree with what Niall said previously, where he said that we're going to get a 0-16 team? I worry that it goes the other way. I think that we hit the stage where a team's 0-16, and then, like in FIFA, where everybody, after like season 2 or 3 in FIFA, every team
like the global reset.
Yeah, everybody draws. So the problem is that most teams finish around 8-8 because everybody's good enough to beat each other. Apart from player teams, all player teams are going like 14-2.
That's the biggest fear for me. Whenever everybody's going 13-3, and that doesn't matter.
But like every CPU team's like 60 overall, so they can all sort of beat each other week to week. But player teams just rail them, and then there's no point really having the league then. Because everybody gets 14 wins until the playoffs. Yeah, it might as well just be a knockout tournament between player teams, because whoever you could have 2-3 teams with no player games in their schedule that all go 16-0, or all go 15-1.
At the minute, we have guys with records of 6 wins, 8 wins, 11 wins, 9.5 wins, 10. There is a variety this year, but you're right. If we keep going, Nick and Zach and James Cameron are more likely to get better than John and Adam and Niall are to get worse. So there will be this horrible cutoff point with the same roster, same squad, same teams, where everybody's 14-2, and it's whoever is left-handed gets the bye, and then it like you said, Niall, you're basically just playing a 17-week-long preview into the FA Cup. Nobody wants that.
You're seeing player teams only lose to other player teams. And as much as player teams should obviously be your hardest game to schedule, when a CPU game might as well be simmed, there's no point in having it.
Then you end up with an entire league full of James Earlses who all go 13-3 and then all get beat by John in the title game, and there's no reason for that.
when CPU games become a walk, you end up feeling like I did in the second season of the Bengals, of just what the fuck am I even playing this for?
Yeah.
I think for me, I've eliminated a lot of my stupid mistakes, and like I say, I do genuinely think I've assembled the best defense in the NFL. I think we at one point were giving up a touchdown every other game, but I am unfortunately going to have to go. I pass out a lot of love to the whole league, and I look forward to seeing how the title game the playoffs go, divisional, title, Super Bowl, and then it's on to my favorite time of the year, which is the draft. But yes, I'm going to have to love you and leave you. Thank you for having me on.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for being on.
Yes, and I will have to watch that game back, and of course do some tape watching on Adam.
When are you and Adam playing?
Adam's asked me about tomorrow. I've got the day off work because I've got some farm things to do, so it depends how tired I am. But if I can't do tomorrow, I can do literally any other day.
No, that's not a biggie then. You've got like a whole week.
No, exactly. But I am gonna go, guys.
All right.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for coming on. See you, dude.
See yous. Bye.
Right, I will nip downstairs and kill that now. Thanks for listening, guys. James Cameron's game should be going live in about 10 minutes or so. That's Denver versus the Chargers. That's a biggie. He needs that. Thanks for listening.